All right, you've got a big exam coming up on the digestive system, and we are going to nail it. Think of this as your personal digital cram session. We're going to focus only on the core concepts you absolutely need to know and turn all that complex biology into simple, memorable ideas. Ready? Let's dive in.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll cover the why behind it all, the absolute basics of energy and metabolism. Then, we're going to trace the entire journey of your food, taking a tour of the GI tract and meeting the key organs that help out. We'll wrap things up by looking at what happens when this amazing system runs into a little trouble.
Okay, first things first, let's start with the foundations. Before we can even talk about how digestion works, we've got to understand why our bodies even bother in the first place. And the answer to that? It's really simple. Energy.
Every single cell in your body, and I mean every one, needs energy to do its job. And the universal energy currency for all of them is this molecule called ATP. Now, the easiest way to wrap your head around this is to think of it like a rechargeable battery. When it's full of energy, it's ATP, a fully charged battery. After that energy gets used, it becomes ADP, a drained battery. The entire point of digestion is to get energy from food to recharge those ADP batteries right back into ATP.
This constant process of charging and draining energy, well, that's all part of metabolism. Metabolism is really just the grand total of every single chemical reaction happening in your body at any given moment, just to keep you alive. It's the engine that's always running, and it's fueled by the energy we get from our food.
Now, metabolism has two different sides to it, and I promise you this is a classic exam question. First, you've got catabolic reactions. These are the ones that break down big molecules and release energy. If it helps, think catastrophe to remember breaking down. Then you have anabolic reactions, which use that energy to build things your body needs, like muscle tissue. The key takeaway is that they are totally linked. The energy released from catabolism is what fuels anabolism.
So how do we measure how much energy that engine is using? That's where your basal metabolic rate, or BMR, comes in. It's the baseline number of calories your body burns just to exist, to keep your heart beating, your lungs breathing, all that basic stuff. And hey, here's a huge tip for your exam, and this is straight from the source material. You do not need to memorize the complicated formulas to calculate BMR. Just make sure you understand what it represents.
Okay, so now that we know why we need all this energy, let's move on to the process that actually gets it for us. Digestion.
This whole operation really just boils down to three core functions. First up is digestion itself, which is both the mechanical mashing and the chemical breakdown of food. Second is absorption. That's when all those tiny nutrient molecules finally pass into your bloodstream. And last but not least, excretion, which is just a nice way of saying we get rid of whatever's left over. See? Simple as that.
Now that chemical digestion we just mentioned, it relies on these very specific little tools called enzymes. And for your exam, you absolutely, positively need to know these four pairs. Amylase breaks down starch, lipase handles fats, pepsin takes care of proteins, and lactase digests the sugar in milk. Seriously, commit these to memory. They are almost guaranteed to show up on your test.
All right, now for the really fun part. Let's actually follow a bite of food on its fantastic voyage through the gastrointestinal, or GI, tract. Thinking of it as a journey, a road trip, is a great way to remember all the organs in the right order.
But first, how does food actually move through this, 30-foot-long tube? It's not just gravity, that's for sure. Your GI tract uses a process called peristalsis. These are powerful, coordinated waves of muscle contractions that literally squeeze the food along its path. It's what makes sure everything keeps moving in the right direction. So our tour kicks off, of course, in the mouth. Chewing gives us that mechanical breakdown, but don't forget, chemical digestion starts right here too. Your saliva has amylase to start working on starches and lipase to get a head start on fats. All of this gets mixed up into a neat little package called a bolus, which is perfect for swallowing. That bolus then travels down the esophagus to our next stop, the stomach. This place is basically a vat of hydrochloric acid. Its main job is to start breaking down proteins, and it gets help from that enzyme pepsin we talked about. And pretty brilliantly, a thick mucus lining protects the stomach from, digesting itself. Here, the bolus is churned and mixed into a watery paste called chyme.
Next up, we arrive at the main event, the small intestine. And listen, if you're going to focus on one part of this whole system for your test, this is it. The small intestine is where the vast majority of chemical digestion and nutrient absorption happens. It's split into 3 sections, the duodenum, jejunum, and ileum, and its inner walls are lined with millions of these tiny, finger-like folds called villi, which create a massive surface area for absorption.
And hey, just to give you a sense of how crazy efficient that absorption is, think about this. It's not just for food. The small intestine is so good at its job that it absorbs up to 90% of all the water you take in every day. The vast majority of your hydration happens right here.
Our final stop on the main tour is the large intestine. Its job is pretty straightforward. Absorb the last little bits of water, minerals, and vitamins. Then, it compacts all the leftover undigested stuff, like fiber, into feces, getting it ready for excretion. It's also home to a huge community of incredibly beneficial gut bacteria. Now, the GI tract doesn't work alone. It has this crucial supporting cast, the accessory organs. Think of them as the behind-the-scenes crew. Food doesn't actually pass through them, but let me tell you, digestion would be totally impossible without their help.
And here they are, the 3 crucial helpers. The liver is an absolute powerhouse that produces bile. The best way to think of bile is like dish soap. It breaks down big globs of fat into tiny little droplets so the enzymes can actually get to them. The gallbladder? It's just a little storage pouch for that bile, releasing it when you eat something fatty. And finally, the pancreas is an enzyme factory, pumping out a potent cocktail of enzymes that it sends to the small intestine to finish off the carbs, fats, and proteins.
Okay, now that we have a solid handle on the healthy system, it's really important for your exam to know what happens when things go wrong. So let's quickly touch on 2 very common digestive diseases.
First up is GERD, which you probably know as acid reflux. This basically happens when the little muscular ring between your esophagus and stomach gets weak, allowing that stomach acid to splash back up. The main symptom is that burning feeling in your chest we call heartburn. For your test, make sure you know the common causes, like obesity and high-fat diets.
Next are peptic ulcers. These are basically painful sores in the lining of the stomach or the small intestine. Now for your test, remember the 2 top causes. This is key. One is an infection with a bacteria called H. pylori, and the other is long-term use of NSAID pain relievers, like ibuprofen, because they can damage that protective mucus lining. The classic symptom? Stomach pain a couple of hours after you eat.
And there you have it, our complete tour of the digestive system. We've gone from the body's energy battery, ATP, all the way to how that energy gets pulled from your food. You now have the core concepts you need to absolutely ace that test. So the next time you eat something, think about this incredible journey. The catabolic reactions breaking things down, the enzymes doing their jobs, and the amazing efficiency of your small intestine. You've got this. Good luck.